have cleansed our minds, let's say we're working on something, of any preconceived notions of how it ought to be, how it ought to take place, what it ought to look like, then we go into the stillness. We go into the stillness within, and we ask our higher selves in quietness, our higher mind, for its greatest idea for us, the highest conception possible. See, we can only expand by asking. We can't expand by struggling with something out there. We can only expand by performing the bypass. Bypass the experience and then turn within and ask for that idea, that vision, that solution, the greater idea, the greatest possible. You've heard the statement, the highest is the nearest. That also means that God is right where you are. So if we will just turn to it, we can bypass a lot of the stages. God is right where you are. All is right where you are. The most fantastic unfoldment for every single divine being in this room is right like a capsule of consciousness within you. So all you have to do is go like this, hello, hello, what's next? And they will reveal to you the next step. So let's stop looking outside. Let's be self-reliant, radically reliant and dependent upon that which we are for every next move in our lives. And if we do everything that we commence and we remain in the consciousness and keep checking out with that consciousness within of the greatest concept for you, then you will have a success beyond all measure, because you are living the life of God, which means good, which means total success, total fulfillment. Okay, so we ask the higher mind, step one, for its greatest idea for us about anything. And we're very interested. That's why we get quiet, because we are interested in what that mind has to say to us. And we can't hear it if our thoughts are noisy, or we're distracted, or we're caught up there. So we become very interested and very still, and we listen with a keen ear for those floatings of inspirations, that intuitive guidance that comes to us. And then, in this consciousness of love, the infinite supplier of all responds to us by supplying that greater vision, that missing link, whatever you require. Okay, so another great gauge for measuring the worthiness of our ideas as a child of God, a divine being, is to compare it. That idea, hold it up, compare it to the greatest prototype of all being, God, which might be equal to the highest concepts you can conceive of. Does our idea measure up to divine potential? Does it speak of limitless being? Is it courageous? Does it encompass more good, more joy? Does it surpass and take you past a former limitation? Does it vibrate, this thought that you're thinking, does it vibrate with increased peace, satisfaction, joy, completeness? Does it reflect the affluent nature of the great universe you live in? Does it resound with the dignity, strength, and life of the infinite being you are? And is your idea colorful? Do you feel strongly about it? You know, our emotions color and give density to our ideas. So if we're wishy-washy about something, and we're standing, you know, like, well, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't happen, well, I don't care, and, you know, if we're wishy-washy, it's limited, very limited creative steam, creative power. But when we're passionate about something, and it's a high idea, and it's true to our natures, and we'll stand on that idea until it's done, then we're really living according to how we really are. And it's such a much more rich in life to live. Because when you accomplish from that vantage point, you really know what you've done as a conscious thinker. You know that you stood by the truth. And you get this feeling of the true greatness that we're connected to and that we participate in. So if it doesn't measure up, you know, if you're kind of lackadaisical about it, ask God, your infinite self, for a greater idea, something you're impassioned about, because that gives you power. So seek always the kingdom of heaven within. You know, another statement you always hear, you know, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, then, you know, all things shall rise to meet you, all good shall be yours. That means going into the high place in your consciousness to perceive the spiritual truth about you and to link up with that victorious power about you. And I don't care what it is, if it's buying a new dress, climbing, you know, Mount Olympus, you know, whatever it is, that power is a power that's there to serve you for whatever purposes. And it's equally there for each purpose. So it doesn't say, I'm going to give you so much for this, and so much for that, and that's a better purpose. No, you know, anything that you want to attain is as important to the infinite self of you as it is to you, for you are one. So all power backs you up, and know that you're in the consciousness of good and more, that the entire universe backs you up and will find a way to deliver to you what it is that you desire in your heart of faith. Okay? So we seek the kingdom of heaven within until our idea rings right and true for us. So now you see how we are expanding our relationship with the universal mind of being, no longer just our minds and having self-conversations. We're conversing with the real thing. We are opening up and lifting the scopes of our horizons to include greater vistas of divine ideas. Okay, another aspect is that any idea embodying settling for less, making do, compromise of good in any way, or joy in your life is not for us. For God never says to you, I am short on stars today, or short on life molecules today. That field of infinite resource knows no limitation, no shortage, no time of off-duty. There is no time off for the infinite provider. There is no time where God says, look, I need to take a rest, don't bother me right now. I'm unavailable, don't call. It's impossible. For the infinite provider moves continuously by its very nature in prolific action of increase and manifestation with effortless ease and grace. Not one sense of fatigue or tiredness anywhere. And I know we all have those moments of when we get fatigued and tired. It's from our suppression, all those thoughts, you know, that we're suppressing down and that are bogging us down. So we have to go sleep them off. We have to go sleep off our thoughts, you know. But in this life of spirit that you are, there is no such a thing as, you know, lack of enthusiasm. There's no such a thing as lack of energy or unavailability. It's just never-ending life expressing and unfolding, unobstructedly, freely moving. And so that's what you are really one with. And you can live with this effortless ease in the completeness of being, always and ever. So we are vigilant in observation of the ideas we are using and giving our great power to. Ever looking to free those ideas that may be lurking somewhere in consciousness of restrictiveness. Wherever we find them, if we're going to be, surgeons of consciousness, be a good detector. If you hear your mind offering up a limitation to you, or you hear your mind falling into a pattern of giving up, say no. Be vigilant and replace it with the right idea for you. For all there is, in truth, is God within you, God as you, the great power of the universe expressing uniquely and magnificently as you. All of your life goals and quests are goals and quests of spirit. It's the impulse of spirit within you wanting to express, wanting to make a great statement through your life about life. So each life is dear, is loved by the infinite force. And whatever any of you are seeking, know that God within you wants that for you, wants to make a great statement about the power of life by means of you. So, as we practice consciously, continuously, the enhancement and embellishment and expansion of our good ideas, what happens is that we become more and more one with the cosmos, more and more harmonious, more and more powerful and flowing, more and more reflecting in our lives the great truths which we are. Our entire molecular structure of being, our entire vibratory pattern raises to joyous God levels of being. And we move with greater lightness, for we are that which cannot be stuck. Freedom, we are that which cannot be bound. And clarity, we cannot be deceived. We are actually living on higher levels of reality, manifestors of the great reality of being. When we had graduation, I mentioned, I was reading in Life and Teaching of the Masters about the crystal race. So I mentioned the crystal race to the graduates, who are a race of humankind that once was. And in this crystal race, they knew no negative words. Just think about it. Not a negative word was in their Webster's dictionary. Right? Not a negative thought. And they did not use negative words in thought or speech. And they also lived in the totality of the now, with no idea of past or future. They only recognized all of life, right here, right now, the eternal, entire, ever-presence of God being, the totality of life, full and complete now. What we can do as metaphysicians is to cultivate